all right?
Yeah, I'm not so bad. Not so bad. Usual stuff running around the place, but all good fun.
Good. Glad to hear it. Yeah. Yeah, very, very chilly today, isn't it?
To yesterday and today, and remember I do a lot of playground, standing around in playgrounds now, and it was fucking cold. Is the only way I can really describe it.
Wow.
Yeah, because you stood there, you know, you got your big coat on, as they tell you to do in the north, and you know, and you're not running around. You just stood there. So the kids are bouncing off the walls,
Yeah.
and they're perfectly fine. You know, they got hot blood running around them now, and you're just stood there like this.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun at all. Yeah.
It's absolutely right. It's
Yeah,
not working. It's great.
this is why adults and sort of like being inside and warm. Yeah. Love it.
That's where I want to head. That's where I'm heading. Just so I'm going. So actually, that's what I might do over Christmas. Being as I'm so far ahead of everything, I might fill in my application form for my MA. That'd be worthy of my time, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe bang out another academic article.
Well, I've got another one in at the moment, so we shall see. That's been submitted. That's done.
Yeah, actually, I'll send you a link to this. I've still got a year and a half. Right. Deadline date. Don't shit bricks. 4th of December.
Okay. Right. So that's Monday.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's Sunday.
That one, yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. What's it? All right. You send me the link. I'll find out what it is.
I'll send you the link, yes.
You know me.
Yes. You might have something already that works for it. Yeah.
Yeah, either that or, you know, I mean, I'm going away. We're going away this weekend, but I don't do much in hotel rooms nowadays. So take the laptop.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah. Write an academic paper.
Yep.
Shits and giggles. Anyway,
yes.
I'm chomping at the bit on this one actually, because we've got to do the catchphrasey type stuff, though we haven't quite been able to master.
Hold on a sec. Go. Right. You're not chomping at the bit. You're champing at the bit.
Champing it. Oh, go on then.
Yeah, just to be.
Just let's. We are academic after all.
Yeah.
Let's get proper with this academic.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. Don't apologise for it. I don't get offended by that kind of thing anymore. I write it down, refer and just cite you for it. 2022.
Yeah. Gonna get the bastard for that one as well. Yeah.
But yes. So I know we don't have it was super easy, barely an inconvenience level of catchphraseness, but we do have our own catchphrases, and this is one of them. So Ash,
Col,
what have we been reading this week?
So glad you asked. This week we have been reading The October Game by Ray Bradbury. The October Game by Ray Bradbury. Your narrator is Mitch Wilder. He's the hero of the story. Hero might be stretching it a bit. He's the central character of the story. Mitch Wilder, he's married to Louise and he's the father of Marion. His marriage to Louise is not the happiest relationship in the world. In fact, it's fair to say whatever it is that he can do to make her unhappy, he's going to do it. It gets round to Halloween. They have a party. They invite about 20 kids and a dozen adults, and Mitch is a very good host. He invites all of the children and the adults to go down into the basement where he's set things up for them. They go down into the basement, he turns the lights off, and they play the October Game. The October Game being a witch was murdered here. Wahahaha. Here are eyeballs, and they pass things round, and a child says out loud, "Oh, I know what's going on here." Usually these are boiled eggs or peeled grapes or something, and that's what the eyeballs are. And then he's got chicken innards, and he'll pretend those are the brains, and he's got bones, and all of these things are getting handed out. It's all very, very dark, and children are squealing and excited and having lots of fun with it. And then Louise, the wife, says, "Hang on a moment, where's my daughter Marion?" she's scared of this. Is she all right? And Marion doesn't reply. So nobody turns the lights on, but one child goes running out looking, trying to find her, and the mother's getting more and more irate. And then at the end, Mitch says, some damn fool turned the light on. Did you enjoy it?
Muchly. I mean, yes, as I was reading it, I thought, oh yes, I've read this before, but I couldn't quite remember how it ended because it was a long time ago, and I'm like, oh, but as soon as it started going, it's like, oh God, I do remember this. It is dark, it is absolutely macabre and vicious to the absolute hilt without actually showing you anything.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I love Ray Bradbury. And this is, if ever you want to know how to write something, Ray Bradbury is a master of this kind of thing. And he delivers in spades.
It really does, doesn't it? Like you just said, there's actually no gore there. I mean, when we're sort of like passing things round, it's all done in the dark. And on that first pass round, it's chicken innards and it's sort of like a meat bone. And there is nothing there that is particularly vile or unpleasant. And it's only as we start to worry what's happened to that child that we realise just how grim and nasty all of this is.
Yeah, and I mean, you say there's nothing grim and nasty, and that's the whole thing. Is it's all about playing with schema. It's just beautifully done. The child, everything about this story is annoying, right? The main protagonist, we'll call him a protagonist rather than hero, right? Is an absolute twat. He is horrendous as a character. When you listen, he's completely insane. And when you listen to the way that he considers his wife and child, you know, that she let him down because she gave birth to a blonde girl rather than a dark-haired boy, which is what he would have preferred, you know, and that kind of thing. And you're sitting there going, he is detestable. And it's a bit like I was saying about your conversations with dead serial killers, is you can read sometimes where the characters are detestable and you don't get into it and all you're doing is rooting for the shark. You know, but then you get stories like yours and like this one where the hero, they are detestable, the protagonist, but you're actually really invested in finding out because you know that something is going to happen here. So you're not rooting for the character, you're not getting into the character, but you're fascinated at the story that's around it.
Yeah.
And how that's leading in.
Yeah, and I absolutely loved that one for this. I mean, it was immensely readable. It was immensely readable in the second half. The first part I thought was a little bit didactic and a little bit telling, not showing, as we're sort of like getting all of the, oh, I don't like it for this reason, I don't like it for that reason. And if getting a divorce would make her happy, in that case, wouldn't get divorced. There's all of this which seemed a little bit more telling than showing, but when it got down into the basement, my God, did it get good.
Well, I'm going to defend the first part of it, actually, because I think the first part of it is what makes the second part. Because the first part of it is, it's almost like someone convincing themselves in what to do. That's why it has that kind of mania about it. So it starts off, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but you'll start off with the littlest of things, you know, something minor, like your wife gave birth to the wrong child, right? And immediately that is so off kilter, it's so off thought, you know, for what most people would genuinely think. But also, you've probably met someone who has half joked about it. And you're never quite sure whether that really is, you know, it's a bit like I've got 3 kids and someone says, well, which one's your favourite? Because, you know, you do that. We've all got a favourite, you know, do that sort of thing. So it's a little bit uncomfortable in that. And then as he goes on, it's almost like a stream of consciousness. It doesn't break. It kind of starts off at one point and it escalates and escalates and escalates into how this hatred of his wife to that point of not giving a divorce. And I tell you what I'll do. I'll take the child away. That's what I will. You know, it's that everything was ramping up and ramping up and ramping up into this mania, so that when it suddenly changed, and it was like a Volta that happens. It just switches into having a happy family, Halloween party, you're suddenly like, hang on a second, it's a little bit Taxi Driver at that point. No, obviously this is 1945 and way before Taxi Driver, when you sort of like get that sudden, he's insane on his own. Or you take The Shining, does the same thing. He's kind of being a happy family guy, but behind closed doors, when he's on his own in the bathroom shaving, he's almost cutting himself in rage. Completely ridiculous. And that whole first part set that up beautifully, so that when it all starts getting handed around, once you realise what has happened and you trigger in, you don't sit there going, it doesn't feel like a massive leap that they've all gone into the basement and he's done for his daughter. He's killed his daughter, chopped her up, and is now handing her around in the dark. That would be a huge leap if that first part didn't actually completely set up the mental state in the way that it did.
Yeah, fully agree. It's just that it was written in a style that ordinarily I would have thought, yeah, this could be a little bit improved upon. And I know I shouldn't be saying that about Ray Bradbury, but it just didn't quite compel me to continue.
Right.
I did continue, but I think when things get a little bit too introverted, and when they're too introverted, it's sometimes a little bit too much for me. As though here's the character, this is the inside character, this is what the character looks like, and I don't think we don't get to meet or understand people that way in real life. So fiction should be the same way as in real life. We get to know people by, oh, there they are, that's what they do. Oh, they cracked a gag, like that gag, or don't like that gag. They've saved a kitten, or they sort of like kicked a dog. Yeah,
that's really interesting, because that's really interesting that you say that. Because I think that's the advantage of fiction. I think the advantage of fiction, because one of the great things about fear, isn't it? One of the great things about a scare or a joke or something that takes you by surprise, is sometimes you want to be ahead of the protagonist. We've had this in stories before. And you've written this way, and you can only get ahead of the protagonist if you have more information than you would ever have in real life. Otherwise, you would genuinely be able to predict that idiot coming out across the giveaway line that you're about to crash into. At such a level, you kind of drive around thinking that everyone's an idiot. That's how you kind of exist. Sorry, I think Heather's just coming home. The dog's gone a bit crazy out there. I hope it's Heather coming home and not some mad serial killer come to play Halloween games.
But a little bit louder than that if it was a serial killer.
But so you kind of have to do that. I don't know if you have to do it, but I think it's a very sort of common thing to do. And you do it a lot in movies as well. You do it a lot in film. It's why you have the door open behind the protagonist, and the audience gets to see the shadow and the protagonist doesn't, and you get that dread of coming. That something's sort of like forthcoming. So I get what you mean in that, in terms of your taste for the way that something is written, in that the way that particular first bit was written isn't to your taste in that sort of thing. But I'm surprised that you say that when you sort of brought it into the fiction and real life type of thing, that surprised me a little bit, knowing some of the characters that you've written in that respect, because you've done that a lot. I mean, like I say, I know I keep going back to the Conversations with Dead Serial Killers because it is such a magnificent book. But there are moments in that when the guy's thinking and explaining why he's drinking cheap supermarket booze that you wouldn't get that if you were sat in a motel room with someone. You wouldn't get someone verbally explain why they've gone out and bought cheap booze. You'd have to work it out yourself. Where in the book you actually explain that thought pattern. So that's why it surprises me slightly.
Does this mean I'm a raging hypocrite?
We all are. We discovered this last week. Every single person on the planet is a raging hypocrite.
Yeah, I'm a raging hippogriff.
You're a hypocrite. That's what you are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one of my life ambitions, sort of. I suppose it was, maybe it was just, as you say, partly it's a bit stream of consciousness, and obviously James Joyce, if I could go back in a time machine and kill someone, in that case, it wouldn't be Hitler, it would be James Joyce, because of his books, really. So, stream of consciousness, doesn't do a lot for me. Maybe it's that. Maybe that's what I was.
Maybe it was too well written in that respect.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Ray Bradbury did a stream of consciousness. I think he had that character really, because I mean, I know Ray Bradbury, his writing style was all about you don't know what the end is, and you write and see where the story takes you. But the way that end maneuvers round, there's no way that was actually a stream of consciousness. But it was very much like that. It was written in the style of a stream of consciousness. And so it could be that his writing was too good.
Yeah, yes, it could very well be. Yeah,
and reminded you too much of James Joyce.
No, because James Joyce wasn't good. James Joyce is just overrated.
So just a stream of consciousness thing. Why do you say that? We had that discussion with House of Usher, and how that felt like a stream of consciousness.
Yes,
writing. So. And you like that? Oh, strange. But there must have been something in the character, in the way the character. Maybe the character was just that deplorable that you didn't like reading it.
I suppose it could have been that. Yeah. I mean, I do think that the narrator for that version that I was listening to was absolutely spot on. The delivery on it was perfect. It was a really, really well done one.
Is that the one where he does a little podcast at the end of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which again, that was interesting on top of that. And you could see that he'd enjoyed himself with it as well.
The end bit was magnificent. And it was almost, some of the stuff I've been working on recently, not creatively, but on an academic level. And it was almost like, I thought, you've obviously read this before and you picked this one because of an article I've just recently written about sensory storytelling. Because it was sensory storytelling. And it was, granted, it ended up in a really, some idiot turned the light on. That was the, the thing. But the game, I'm pretty certain that game really did genuinely exist.
Yes.
And I'll use as many tautologies as I can. So the game itself of being in the dark and telling a story and handing things around so that they feel is, in essence, what I'm talking about in writing sensory stories. Yes,
it's just the subject matter is probably one that they would ask you not to go into.
And that's my point, is actually there is a group of people, a couple of groups of people, where that kind of story would be brilliant. Not actually kill a child and cut them. If you just did I have a dead witch and here is their eyeballs, right? Yeah. Now, necessarily, you wouldn't have to do it in a dark room in a sensory storytelling. But there are 16 and 17 and 18-year-old people out there who are more sensory in their being, therefore can't really get into that story that we've read today because it becomes too complex and too conceptual in the metaphors, that you literally could play that kind of game with and give them a macabre story and they would enjoy it because they watch things like Goosebumps and they watch things like The Haunted Avenue. So they would like little scary stories, and nobody is writing adventure and horror and, that kind of teen level horror for people that require sensory stories.
With sensory storytelling then, how would you incorporate the first half of that story? The first half of that story is set up, and the first half is sort of like get it shown so that the main character has got a wife and a daughter and doesn't particularly care for either of them.
That story, it's the whole of that story I wouldn't use as a sensory story. It was the murdering witch thing,
right?
Is the bit that you would use as a sensory story. So I would take, that one was far too conceptual and requires a certain amount of schema to be used. So, right. But the concept of a witch got murdered here, and here's her head, and here's her hair, and you could do that because I've seen it done with with like the Medusa thing, and here and someone will get out one snake. You could just get like a bag full of rubber bands and go, that's what the snakes feel like, and so, but you can get more grown up with it than what is currently available because it's mainly used on younger children. And those stories are then used upwards. And then when they start writing for older ones, they stop being fiction and they start doing like A Day at the Zoo. And you miss that whole narrative going forward. And that's where I started. That's why I've started the conversation, or trying to start a conversation in the writing, the academic of writers, because it exists in these other things. But the game they play, the actual October game itself, you could do a version of that. The witch is dead, and have stuff that they got to feel. And this is what her teeth feel like, and you could, just to get that kind of little bit of repulsion and then dropping it, and there's that little bit of fun of it being slightly scary. You couldn't do the whole of what Ray Bradbury had written. I don't, that's too much. You're not doing character development in these kind of stories, but you do want the basic narrative that has these moments, in it.
Yeah.
Because there are people out there that do like they like blood, so you spray water in their face. We cut his throat, and you do that 4D idea, and they would exist. They wouldn't chase you out the park with it. They'd read it first before they read it to the kids, but you wouldn't get chased out the park for it.
Right. Ooh. Yeah, interesting. And yeah, I'm fairly sure that I've played that game and sort of let's set it up for my son at some points as well, with all of the spooky, scary stuff that's going on in it. But yeah, absolutely adored this one.
Oh yeah. It was masterful. And from part of what we say here in terms of creative writing, it was just so, was it 20 minutes long, wasn't it, read out? So about 2,500 words. Just beautifully paced, with the actual Volta coming just off center, I think, as well. So there's a lot more of that beginning, and then it really picks up pace.
And as you say, that beginning is essential, just so that we know what sort of person he is, and how detached he is from the reality of being a normal husband and caring father.
Yeah, it was very much like, I thought, actually. It was like a really sinister version of, who wrote it? Was it Philip K. Dick who wrote The Eyes Have It?
All right, yes.
Was it Philip K. Dick?
Yeah.
Of which, this is how much I've advanced in the year, in terms of that kind of being, when I first read it, it was very much just, it's a reason for a load of puns.
Yeah.
But the style is very similar to the first half of this Ray Bradbury. The guy I've identified something, and he's losing his mind a little bit in what's going on, but he's doing it with jokes. So he's layering joke upon joke upon joke upon joke, where this guy is layering cruelty upon cruelty upon cruelty upon cruelty. But the actual style of the way that he's getting more and more manic is very similar, I think.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, yeah. And I still go back to The Eyes Have It, one of my favourites. I absolutely love that one. It's it's just such a clever idea, and it's such a wordy idea as well.
Yeah, and I think I was a bit unjust to it, to be perfectly honest with you. I think after the discussion, I realised that I'd been unjust to the way that I thought about it. I think my mood, when I just happened to be, listening to it, and we used to have Sean come in as well, didn't we, at the time?
Yeah.
I think some, and I just didn't really appreciate it. To me, it was a bit just, oh god, it's just puns. When now I think, having gone over a load more stuff, I think I appreciate it more, especially when you said about have a look at it from a McCarthyism point of view, and suddenly you go, actually, now you can see where it's taking the mick out of how people get irate about things, and so that does come into it a lot more, I think.
Yeah, no, that was a really entertaining one, that. And yeah, I get where you're coming from on this. So yeah, we do have those similarities, certainly.
Yeah, it's more in the style, more in the way that manicness builds. As it starts off on a really kind of simple place and then continues to flow. It's like The Eyes Have It; it doesn't break. The guy has started at a point where he thinks he spotted something, and then the more and more he talks about it, the more crazy he sounds, because it's the more manic he's talking about things. And then it's this, and then it's that, and so forth. And this does the same thing. It starts off in a quite simplistic place, says something odd, and then it just constantly builds on this real crazy notion sort of going forward. So that's what I mean. But there's no jokes in it. There's nothing funny in that first part of it. There is nothing funny at all.
There's nothing funny throughout the whole of the thing, yet that final line,
Final line.
Damn idiot, turn the lights on.
Yeah.
It's so stark and revealing that it is almost like a punchline to a gag.
It is.
They're sort of like thinking, oh, yeah, oh, shit, yeah. And yeah, it's one hell of a gut punch. Yeah.
It's brilliant. And like you say, it's like a joke. It delivers it like a joke. So there's nothing funny until you get to that last line, when actually it should be the most unfunny part of it is the funny bit. And that's Ray Bradbury's genius again. Talk about messing with your mind. Yeah,
and the fact that whole second half is set in the dark, it works because you don't know what your characters are up to or where they are, and it allows you to sort of like build on that whole sensation.
The know-it-all child, introducing a character that actually carries the weight of exposition.
Yeah.
Because that one know-it-all child made sure that every person reading that story knew what was going on, knew what was supposed to be expected. And because you're reading the story, a horror story, you know that it's not going to be that. And therefore, you have to set up the fake reality, haven't you?
Yeah.
Genius.
Yep, absolutely loved it. Now we're gonna have to do another one of his at some point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I actually think we're going to have to do seasons. I think when we get to a certain point where we'll go right. What we're going to do is the next 4 are going to be all from the same author, and we'll just so that we can do a compare and contrast.
You're going to love what I've got lined up for next time it's my turn. But,
Well, funnily enough, I have no idea whether you're going to love what I've got lined up for today, because today I'm doing something completely different. Well,
what are we reading this week?
I haven't got a fucking clue. That's why it's different. So what I've done is I've done this a little bit of a different way. I'll just make the screen a little bit smaller there. I have got in front of me a playlist from somewhere that likes to do Victorian ghost stories. So every single one of these is a Victorian ghost story. And I started looking at the top one. I think the top one sounds quite interesting. I think we've read some. Have we read Amelia B. Edwards before? I think we have.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Right. Okay, then. So this time, what we are going to read then is The Phantom Coach. Coach? C-O-A-C-H. Couch. Coach. The Phantom Coach.
Coach, yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Sometimes dyslexia is a bitch.
I actually want to read The Phantom Couch now.
Well, I know I might need to write The Phantom Couch now. Right, so it's The Phantom Coach, a ghost story by Emily B. Edwards.
Have we read that one?
No, definitely haven't read The Phantom Coach. Nor The Couch. In fact, actually, we haven't read anything about Phantom Furniture at all.
Phantom Coach, Amelia B. Edwards. I've got that one. Yes, I will have a listen to that.
Okay, so that's the one we're going for. What I'm going to do, actually, is immediately I'm just going to add this to the reading. No, not that one. Q. I'm going to just add it to the reading list. Like that. Right, so that's now added to the reading list. Look at that. That's so quick that I can do that sort of thing. I know we definitely haven't read that one. I'm sure we haven't read that one. I'll go back and check. God, we've read so many. Do you know this is going to be over 60 now?
Bloody hell. Yeah, maybe I'm confusing it with one that I've read somewhere else or...
Yeah, I mean, I know we definitely... I was pretty certain we'd read some, Emily.
Yes.
Before. But let me just have a quick...
Didn't she do the Parsons story?
Eh?
Did she do the Parsons story? Or
just about to find out.
About an illusion. Was it an illusion?
Was it an illusion? Oh, was it an illusion? That wasn't that long ago. I don't think we read that one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe about 7 weeks ago.
All right. Okay. Oh, it's nearly 2 months ago then.
Yeah.
So, well, there you go. We're going to read a bit more of hers.
Brilliant. Looking forward to it.
So that should be good. That should be fun. Yes. So, well, there we go again. Brilliant. I just love that one that we had this time. I thought the October Game was a magnificent piece of story writing.
Really was,
Yeah, just superb and just so macabre at the end as well. But to the point of a squeal. It was a proper Halloween story, wasn't it? It was a genuine Halloween
What you
tale.
want from a horror story, yeah. It got sort of like, yeah, it made you think, oh, that's bloody horrible. Yeah.
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 And it is, I believe it came from an urban legend, and it has that feel about it, I think.
I can see that, yeah.
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 So
Well, nice to have expanded on an urban legend.
Whoa, that's another. There you go. There's another show that we need to do. We need to do an urban legend show.
Yeah, we do.
We'll discuss several different urban legends. I think that'll be a fun one to do as well. So we've got plenty. I tell you what, in the comments, if you make it this far,
Yes.
put down, give us some author suggestions for short stories, and we'll do the same authors, and maybe put down some urban legends, and we'll then sort of have a look into some of those and have a discussion to see what story merits they have and whether or not we can come up with something. Now, there's a challenge. Give us an urban legend. We will, on here, without any pre-reading, we will... are you up for that, Ash, actually?
Yes.
In the new year, what we'll do is we'll ask for a suggestion of an urban legend that you've heard of, and me and Ash will sit here and we will piece together a short story based on that urban legend here, recorded without any, research. And any research that we do, we will do as part of the recording.
Sounds like a fun one.
So we'll show the creative process from that point. How's that?
Yeah, like that.
Okay, well, we'll do that one then. So look forward to that one in the new year. But next week, we're reading a bit more. We're reading The Phantom Chaise-Longue. And and then you've got another great one for us coming up into the December months and all that.
I think I have, yes. Yeah.
This is great. Looking forward to this so much. Thank you again, Nash.
Cheers, mate.
Such a pleasure.
Really enjoyed that. Thank you.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye now. Bye.